Hi everybody! Today we're going to be working on this page here, and this one is from my Doctor Who colouring book. That one there. It does have a few various artists in this one, so I'm not sure who exactly drew it. But this one was chosen as a buddy colour with the lovely Crafty Claire, and I will link her channel down below. We picked this page here to do, and I've also picked it to work along with my series of videos where I'm using Create This Book 2 as colouring page prompts, and using the prompts in this kind of art prompt book as prompts for colouring pages. And I've just moved on to the second prompt, which is create a page of lyrics. Write the lyrics to a song here. And I'm not going to be incorporating all of the song lyrics. I just thought I'd write a line or two of song into this picture here. I thought I could make that work quite well. And the main idea was this picture here, it's from an episode of Doctor Who. I don't think it's one I've actually seen. If I have seen it, I can't remember. But what this page did remind me of was the Emerald City from Wizard of Oz. So I thought maybe if I could colour it somewhere along those lines, maybe put in a few lines from Over the Rainbow. As my theme for the month is rainbows this month, I thought I could add a rainbow, put in a couple of lines from the song Over the Rainbow. There will be a lot of adjusting done to this page. As you can see, it's not looking very much like the Land of Oz at the moment. There will be a lot of acrylic markers. Maybe I'll bring in a little bit of collage. But without any further ado, I'll zoom us in and we'll get started. Okay, I've zoomed us in a little bit there, and you can see I have actually marked out some lines here already. And those are for where I thought I'd add in the yellow brick road, because what is the Land of Oz without the yellow brick road, which does actually lead to the Emerald City? I thought that might be quite fun to try and add that in. So as I said, I think how I'm going to be doing this is with the acrylic markers. I'd give those a little bit of a try first before I bring in the collage. I think I will maybe bring in a little bit of collage for maybe a few flowers here once we've turned these mountains into fields. But first things first, I think what I'm going to do is try and bring in this yellow brick road. So I'm just using my cheap acrylic markers. I really do need to invest in a decent set of acrylic markers. These are just a really cheap set of acrylic markers. These are Deco Time ones here from B&M in the UK. So I thought I'd give those a bit of a go. They are my markers that are the most opaque, although this yellow is pretty bright, so I'm not sure quite how opaque this yellow is going to be. But yeah, I'm going to try adding in here. And looking at that, there will probably need to be a few layers of this yellow to try and cover up all the line work, the busy line work that's going on underneath there. For the sides here, I'm going to be using the green, the light green first as a base, and then coming in with the dark green to try and add a few little shady bits in a kind of graphic style, maybe to show that we have some kind of, maybe some hills, slight kind of raised parts here in our grassy kind of area. There's the first layer down, and yeah, that's not really looking super opaque at the moment, but we'll give that a chance to dry. Maybe try adding a few more layers and seeing how opaque we can actually make that. Okay, so after a little bit of trial and error there, what I've decided that I will need to do is to lay down a couple of shades of the darker colour. As on these pens we have both a lighter and a darker shade. I've laid down a couple of layers of the darker colour, the yellow and the green, and then hopefully I'll be able to work on top of that with the lighter colour, or at least with coloured pencils or something, to be able to add in a few more details, still trying to keep in that kind of graphic style. But the light colour, as we can see here, that just wasn't covering the black line art, because this is really quite thick, quite black line art. So I'm hoping that once we go on top of the yellow road with some lighter colours or with some pencils, we'll be able to disguise the fact that the line art is still showing through there at the bottom. The green, not so much. That is after 2 coats of the darker green on top of the lighter green that I laid down. I think there was 2 coats of the lighter green and then 2 coats of the darker green. That is pretty opaque now, but the page is curling a little bit because I've gone a little bit crazy with my layers of acrylic, but I think we might be able to flatten that down, and I'd rather have the line art covered than have the page perfectly flat. So now I'll add a couple of layers of the darker green on top of this side of the road, try and get that looking a bit more opaque there, a little bit more covered up, and then I'll meet up with you. We're a little bit further on there now, and what I did was I've added another layer or 2 of the dark green to this side of the path here. I've gone in on this side of the path once that was dry with the lighter green, and added in what I hope will look like a few layers of grass and bushes and foliage and stuff like that. And what I'm doing with the road, I'm going in with the lighter yellow on the other end of our mustard yellow pen here and marking in some bricks because this is a yellow brick road after all. And trying to put in those with the lighter yellow to hopefully, with a kind of aim of coming back in later and maybe adding a few bits of shading and stuff like that. The bricks would be getting slightly bigger as they come towards us, so maybe I should start doing that, make the bricks look slightly bigger as they do come towards us, and the gaps between them maybe slightly bigger as they do come towards us. But yeah, we can come in with pencil shading over the top if we're not happy with that, and in the distance here our bricks would be fairly tiny. But we still want to have a little bit of an indication that this brick road, it's the same brick road that does carry on. There we go, something like that. That's a yellow brick road. So for the grass, how I was adding in those kind of bits of grass and stuff is just adding them in on top of the darker green with the lighter green and sort of dabbing away with the lighter green, the bits of the grass that would be highlighted, giving kind of a grassy little dabs with the pen. You can see what I'm doing there, just trying to make it look as if there are different bushes and plants and grass and stuff on the side of the path here. And if there are any lines coming through, I'll maybe try and disguise those a little bit by going over those with where I am highlighting. And again, as with the bricks, any clumps of grass or anything like that would look smaller as they do go away from us, larger as they come towards us. So we'll turn these kind of rock edges here into the edges of some clumps of grass. Well, this one come up there, maybe that might work. I have learned a couple of things using the acrylic markers so far, even though playing with this picture quite a lot. The first one being that it's easier to come in with a darker shade and go over the top with the lighter if you're trying to cover really strong black lines. Lots of line art as we were doing here. It's probably easier to come in with your darker pen and bring in the lighter as we're doing here, just to go over the top and bring in a few highlights and edges and stuff. But my pens aren't the most opaque, but the lighter colours seem to be less opaque than the darker colours. So this kind of putting in the detailing with the lighter colours afterwards seems to work quite well. Let's see if we can find a dark green to bring in a little bit of shading here. I have the Prismacolors out from the last time I was doing some colouring. So this is dark green. I think that might work to bring in, yeah, it's showing up there, I think, well enough to bring in a little bit of shading here, a little bit of depth to it. And again, I'm using kind of scribbly kind of marks there, hoping to hint at some sort of leaves and foliage and stuff like that. I'm hoping to be able to collage in or bring in some flower stickers or something along those lines. Maybe even some of my butterflies that I do love to use. That would be quite fun, I think. Again, trying to keep this simple, graphic, not realistic at all here. We're going for a kind of vintage travel poster is kind of the idea that I was kind of going for there. Can we make the grass come up over the path? That might work quite well too. Make it look as if we do have a road in the middle of this grass here. That works. Yep, that works. So that's working quite well there, I think. That's looking as if there is different layers to this grass. It's going off into the distance there. And once we've added in a few flowers there, I think that will be looking quite fun. We could even come in with the acrylic markers and add some sort of flowers there. Maybe buttercups and daisies in that grass. But I'm going to go ahead and finish off this field on this side of the road, move on, maybe do the other side of the road with this dark green, get that looking good, and then we'll move on to the brick road. We'll try a little bit of shading, maybe with a brown colour on there, some sort of ochre colour maybe. But for now, quite happy with how that's going, and I'll catch up with you again in a second. I'm going to call both of those sides of the road pretty much done for now, I think. We've got an indication that there is a little bit of grass maybe going on there, some undergrowth, and we'll work on adding some flowers to that maybe a little bit later on. But for the yellow brick road in the middle, I have a couple of colours here. I'm not sure how well they will actually work on top of these markers, but we'll give it a go. I've got sienna brown there to maybe add a little bit of a shadow underneath the bricks. And then for the bricks themselves, maybe a little bit of shading with this goldenrod. See if we can make that show up, give them a little bit of texture. We can come in over the top with white as well, either the acrylic marker or the white gel pen, but I thought maybe we'll see what we can make happen here. And yep, that's showing up. Okay, I think underneath the bricks there's a little bit of shadow to show that we do have these separate bricks in the road. I'm not going to be so concerned about the shading as we get further away towards the city, but yeah, for here we'll make sure we've got that little bit of shadow underneath our bricks there, just to make them look as if they are three-dimensional and not just painted onto the road. Yeah, something like that. I think that's working quite well. And I'm not sure how well we'll be able to shade the actual bricks with this goldenrod, but maybe adding a little bit of a texture, again, to make them look as if they're not just painted onto the road. They are actual bricks. I'm trying to work with any brush marks we have coming through from the acrylic marker there to make it look as if that is part of the brick and not such an obvious brush mark, kind of, if that's making sense. But yeah, I think those are looking a lot like bricks now. I'm fairly happy with how those are going, so I'm going to carry on with those and see what we can make this road look like. There we go. I think that's working pretty well. And that's as far as I planned ahead. For the rest of the image, I'm not entirely sure how I am going to be colouring that. The city itself, I'm thinking of using alcohol markers to try and get some really bright yellowy greens going on in there. The sky itself, I'm not entirely sure. I was thinking of adding my rainbow over the top of this dome here, but I'm not sure whether to do that with my acrylic markers or with alcohol markers. I do want to do the sky, this sky here, with the acrylic markers because I want to be writing in some lyrics from the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow over the top of the actual rainbow, over the rainbow, because that kind of makes sense to me. And I would like to do that with my white gel pen, and if I used my alcohol markers, that ink would be soaking through and the white would turn blue because I do intend that sky to be blue. Don't really want these kind of squiggly bits here. I don't really want those to be clouds because I do want to have my writing in the white up there. So maybe we can use the dark blue and the light blue acrylic marker to colour the sky. But that would mean we might have to put in my rainbow with the acrylic markers as well. So it won't be quite as bright and sparkly as I would like it to be. Unless I did maybe come in with glitter or sparkles over the top of the markers. Now that would make sense. Okay, that might be a plan. You're getting a little bit of my thought process going on with this one. So we're going to have to work our rainbow backwards here over the top of this dome. So the colours of the rainbow, if I just note them on the side here, we have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and as we are going with the Pride Month kind of rainbow flag, it doesn't go blue, indigo, violet, it just goes blue, violet, or purple. So that is how we're going to be working that. So we're going to have to work outwards from our dome here. So the first colour, if we're doing a reverse of our list there, it's kind of hard to get in space here that I've actually got to work in. The first colour would be violet because red is actually at the top of a rainbow. So we're going to have to come in with a violet. Hopefully we'll be able to make this work. We're going to have a violet kind of stripe at the bottom of our rainbow here. So there we go with our purple stripe. After that would be blue, and I think that should be all right to bring some blue into the rainbow, because if I do use blue for this sky, it will be far enough away from the blue of the rainbow that we shouldn't have any kind of clashing areas where there's two areas of blue right next to each other. This blue is a little bit fluffy. I'm not sure we'll be able to use it well enough. I'll try. Come in with a blue stripe here. There's our blue. Then we're moving on to green, and we do know that this green is fairly transparent. Should I come in with a different green? Actually, I do have another set of acrylic markers here. Some of them are actually out at the moment, but I do have this other set of acrylic markers here. This one is called Crafty Co. I got these from Smith's, the toy shop, I think. So maybe I'll bring in a green from here so that it is different from the green of the grass. I'll bring in maybe this more kind of a limey yellowy green. Inside of the dome here, I'm thinking instead of doing the blue, I might do a turquoise. I haven't quite decided on that yet because the city is Emerald City, kind of in this bubble here. Although maybe looking at it now, we could do this part here in the turquoise to make that look different from the grass we have coming on in the front. We can give a white outline to this kind of bubble. Maybe bring in the alcohol markers to make these colours paler versions of the colours that we're using on the outside. To again make it look as if it is inside a bubble of some sort. As you can tell, yeah, as usual, I've not planned out this page fully before actually settling down to actually colour it. So things are developing in real time here. The next colour will be yellow, and again, not the most opaque. Now for the orange. And there we go. And finally the red. Okay, for the sky, I'm going to use the light blue from this marker here, from the set from B&M. I'm going to use this shade of blue from my Crafty Co markers. They're both kind of on the light side, but I think the dark blue, this one here, is slightly too dark. That will be making it look more like a nighttime scene, which is not what we're wanting. So these swirly bits, yeah, I'm going to fill in with these markers because I want to come in and write my somewhere over the rainbow, over the rainbow. Because to me, yeah, that makes sense. So this is the blue from the Crafty Co here. I'll try and make sure it looks as flat as possible, but yeah, it doesn't really matter if that is opaque because we're not trying to cover anything there. So that will be the darkest of the blues, and this one is the same one that we used in the rainbow, but far enough away that I don't think it will make too much of a problem. Normally I would go over these line arts here with the white gel pen, but I think I'm going to come in and do my writing with the white gel pen, so that wouldn't really look too good if all these lines are white and then I come in with the white gel pen. So I think what I will do is just use this blue gel pen. This is from the Doodlers glitter gel pens, to just go over and maybe soften those lines a little bit and give a little bit of sparkle, because we are in a magical land here. And there we go, something along those lines. So that's how I'm going to go over the sky, like that. Yeah, trying to make sure that this colour looks as flat as possible. We were looking a little bit patchy there. But that is how I'm going to fill in the sky. And when that's all done, we'll see how we're looking then. Okay, a little bit of a progress report there. The pattern did seem to go a little bit odd here, where we had 3 different colours maybe having to be used. So I brought in a light grey, and I'm hoping that my white writing will show up well over the top of that when we do come to put that in. But I'm going to carry on and finish the sky now, see how we do end up at the end. Phew, that was a very big job. I did bring in a few more bits of the grey in places to make this one little cloud here not look so out of place. So now what we're going to do is take the colours that we've got in the sky, bring them inside this kind of globe here, but make them a little bit paler, because we want to make it look as if our city is inside a kind of dome here. So I've picked out a couple of blues that are lighter than the ones you've actually got in the sky. And these are alcohol markers. These are Hoo Hoo alcohol markers. I've got B110, the crystal blue, for the lightest areas. And then I've got B080 process blue for the darker areas. But they will be lighter than the colours we've used outside, hopefully. I don't really have a lighter grey than the grey we've actually used for the outside. So I've just picked out CG030, which I think is around about the same kind of tone. That is a neutral grey 03. Hopefully that's around about the same kind of tone. Let's see. Yeah, maybe that's even a little bit darker, but yeah, that shouldn't matter too much. Maybe it'll dry a little bit lighter if we're lucky. But those are going to be the clouds anyways inside this dome. These circles here, I'm going to be leaving those white to be reflections on the outside of this bubble or dome that our city is actually inside. There is only that one little area cloud that does come inside the dome, so I think we might be able to get away with that. So let's turn around a little bit and start going over this sky in here. Try and match up the colours that we've used here into the actual dome. So this area here, let me see, it looks as if that's a darker area. This is a lighter area. So we'll come in with the light blue here. Which according to the swatch sheet is lighter than the blue that we've actually used outside. So hopefully that will dry a little bit lighter. That's looking slightly darker than it does on the swatch sheet, but we'll roll with it and see what we do end up with. It is a slightly different colour, so we can kind of make it look as if it is inside this dome here. And this is the darker colour. Hopefully those two will both dry and be lighter than the actual colours that we've used outside with a bit of luck. But I will fill in the rest of this dome and see what we end up with there. We can always come in with a white pencil and just shade over the top just to tone down this sky a little bit if needs be. Okay, so those colours inside our bubble there, now I've gone ahead and finished that off. They ended up not being as different from the outside sky as I would have liked them to be. But I think I've made a little bit of an improvement on this side. So what I did, I'll just lay some scrap paper down to start getting my hands in any of the gel pen that isn't dry. I went right around the edge of our bubble with the white Prismacolor, kind of pressing quite hard around the very edge and then trying to ease off the pressure as we get further in towards the middle of the bubble. And just giving that kind of difference to the colours there on the very edge, I think has helped show that we are kind of different inside this bubble or whatever it is that's in the picture. I'm not entirely sure. I'm taking it as being some sort of bubble. So yeah, that kind of white around the edge helps, I think, to show that we are in this bubble. We're slightly different from the outside. I think that was helping. And I did, you can see the other side, add in a few little sparkles. Are those showing on the camera? Yeah. I added in a few little sparkles, almost like stars, but as it is daytime, there'll be sparkles, kind of magic sparkles coming from the city. So I'll add in a few circles with this white Prismacolor to be the kind of shine, the halo of shine around our stars or sparkles. They are sparkles, not stars. It is daytime. So yeah, we're talking sparkles and not stars. But a few of those dotted around again, just to make it look as if we are different actually inside this bubble here. And then with the white gel pen, I went around the outside line, the very outside line of the bubble with the white gel pen, again to show that we are in a different kind of section of the picture. And with that gel pen as well, I put dots in the middle of these kind of light halos that we drew, just to make it look as if there are little sparkles or little shiny bits. There, we can make one or two super sparkly like that one. And we can add a few that are not actually inside the shine. And with the lines, instead of going around with the blue gel pen as I did on the outside there, I went around those lines with the white gel pen, and I tried to make them sort of taper off a little bit and turn into a dotted line as I got closer to the edge of the bubble. As I got into that area that I started doing with the pencil, I turned that into a dotted line. Okay, and while I've got this gel pen out, I might see about adding my lyrics around the outside of this circle. It's usually best to add gel pen at the end where you're not likely to be getting your fingers into it or anything, but I don't think I'm going to be going much of anywhere near the outside of this rainbow for now. So I'm going to be really brave and try and freehand this with the white gel pen. I'll leave a little bit of a gap because I'd like to add a crystal or two before this writing actually starts, but let's go for it and see if we can make this work. Okay, that sort of works. My handwriting is not the neatest, but I think that's working pretty well over the rainbow. So I'm going to add in a couple of little crystals, maybe a couple more on the other side, more than I put on this side because that finishes quite a way up there. So if maybe I have a red and orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, that will kind of balance us out there. I didn't want the writing to be coming all the way down here. I wanted it to be over the top arch of the rainbow, so that's worked out kind of how I wanted it. Yeah, I think I like that. Maybe it's a kind of a subtle way of adding some song lyrics to your picture, but yeah, I didn't want to go too full on and have the lyrics take over the picture. I did have a few other ideas of using lyrics into pictures, which may be shown in my end of the month video, but for now we'll carry on with this one and I'll move on to colour our actual Emerald City now, and I want that to be a very yellowy green. I've got a couple of bright greens here that I think might work for our Emerald City. We have this light kind of a yellowish green here. That one is called acid green. And then we have apple green for the darker bits. Again, those not looking quite as bright as they do actually on the swatch sheet. Maybe I should stick with my scrap paper just to make sure my hands are not going in any of that gel pen that isn't dry. But for the light areas, I'm going to go in with this lighter green and the darker green for the darker areas. Fill in this Emerald City, make it look really bright and sparkling green. I think I might have to bring in yet another shade of green here. Hopefully this one is lighter, because we do have 3 different sections to this kind of part of the building here. And for anyone who is wanting to do the same thing, I'll tell you what these greens are. The darkest one is G260, that's apple green. The middle one is acid green, which is G130. And that one I've just used there, that's G050, celadon green. And those are all the Ohuhu markers. There we are. I've gone and coloured in all of our city there with those 3 different shades of green. And for this kind of landscapey bit at the bottom here, I'm going to go with my first instinct, which was to colour that in a kind of a turquoise teal. I'm not sure how well that will work with the greens we've got going on there, but yeah, it's worth giving it a go. See if we can make it at least look a little bit different, a little bit more towards the emeraldy side, a kind of emerald green. Okay, we're getting there now. I think what I might do though is go over this edge of the bubble in the middle with the white gel pen, again to separate out our city in the middle from the rest of the picture. On this line art inside our bubble, I think I might go around that with the actual green gel pen. And let's see how that looks, I'm thinking, as we are an Emerald City. Maybe I'll go over all the line art inside this bubble with the green. That might work quite well. These reflections here in our actual bubble, I think I'll do those with the white gel pen. Maybe tidy those up a little bit there. But yeah, I think I might bring in the green gel pen for the rest of the line art inside this bubble. But that would have to be the last thing I do, I think, because I don't want to risk putting my hand in any gel pen, which is why I'm using this scrap paper to rest my hand on there. But yeah, I think that's working quite well. So with a little bit of shading, I think, maybe on the city, and then the line art gone round with that green gel pen, that green sparkly gel pen, to kind of emphasize that Emerald City sort of idea. I think we might be looking somewhere near done, apart from these bits here, which I'm not entirely sure how to do. I do have a couple of green pencils here, some Castle Art green pencils that I've used in a previous picture. I think they're still out on the table. I have cadmium green and cadmium green pale. I'm going to see if I can add a little bit of shading to our Emerald City here, see if these greens will actually work. Yeah, I think that will be fine. Maybe some white highlights as well. and then go over the line art with that green gel pen, which I think will, work really well for my kind of Emerald City sort of idea that we're aiming for here. Maybe add a few white sparkles. I'm still thinking of putting my glitter into the sky in the background there to, again, make that look different from the outside sky. There's our city shaded, and I think maybe I can come in and add a little bit of shading to this, this kind of teal or emerald green with, that is the aquamarine Prismacolor pencil. Okay, for these two bits here, now that I've decided to go over all the line art inside my bubble with that green gel pen, I wanted to keep with the green kind of theme we have going on there. The only difference is the yellow brick road, but I think that fits in with the Wizard of Oz Emerald City kind of theme. So what I'm going to do is colour those with the alcohol markers in a kind of sagey, kind of greyish green. I've picked out G410 light holly green and a G330 mineral green as a kind of a light and a dark. So hopefully these will go over these bits here and not look too conspicuous. So we'll give a little bit of the white to the edges here, just as a little bit of highlight. And then I do have this Terra Verde Castle Arts pencil that I think will be a darker shade of this sort of mineral green here. And just give that a little bit of shading, make it look a little bit three-dimensional. Few little white highlights for these as well. They do seem to be sticking up into the sky, so I'm guessing they would be somewhat highlighted, but I don't want them to be taking any attention away from our city. And because of that as well, I think I might add a little bit of yellow to that city to really bring out that sort of yellowy green that we've got going on here. Add a little bit of yellow as a highlight, and maybe that will be more kind of attention catching in the middle there. So we'll try to keep to one side maybe. Look as if we do have a green kind of emerald light going on in there maybe. So I'll keep to this right hand side just so we're consistent. There we go, we're looking good there, I think. Now this is going to be the hard part. I've got to go over all that line art inside our bubble there with this green glitter gel pen. Again, this is the Doodler's Glitter green glitter gel pen. Then we'll see about a few flowers maybe on this grass here. I might just draw those in with the white acrylic marker or the white pen, I think. And then we're pretty much done. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it's turned out so far. Time for some finishing touches now. I'm going to pop in some of these butterfly stickers, especially the green ones that I think fit in well with my theme for the city there. There we go, just for fun. I'm also going to try adding in some flowers into this grass. I'm not sure if the white marker will show up, but if the white marker will show up, we can maybe pop in some daisies. By giving a kind of a white oval. I know in the books this is a field of poppies, but I think daisies will do for us here. I think those will work. There we go. I popped some little pink edges to those daisies because they were looking a little bit like fried eggs. So there we go. We could even put in some little pink flowers while we're at it. Really go for that fairy tale sort of feel here. Oh yeah, I like that. Oh, that's looking really good. I'm loving that so far, I have to say. So we're going to go over the other side. Again, add in a few daisies, a few of those little pink flowers. And yeah, I'm loving how this is going. I really didn't have much of a clue when I first started, to be honest, how I was going to do most of this picture, but I am super happy with it. I really love how it's turned out. We'll have the flowers getting smaller as we go away up to the top of the kind of grassy bit up there. Our white daisy would get smaller. Then we're coming in with this pink a little bit around the edges so they don't look like fried eggs. And then some little pink flowers, just with dots in the grass, little random pink dots there to look like little pink flowers of some description. Again, those will be getting smaller the closer you get to the back of the foreground, more into the background up here. And as a last final touch, I do have some Dovecraft glitter glue here. This is the crystal one. I think it's called Crystal. It's basically the clear one. I'm going to pop some of that inside our bubble here. Try not to get too close to that green glitter gel pen that we put down, or too close to the white gel pen that might reactivate, but I do want a little bit of glitter inside this bubble. I'm going to be calling that done now, I think. I'm super happy with how that's turned out. So I'll zoom us out. We'll have a look at the whole picture. There we go, we're zoomed out there, and yeah, I am super happy with how this one has turned out. This is not really how I envisioned this one to be turning out, but once I had that idea for the Emerald City, I just ran with it and played with that, and I think that's really worked. It really did remind me of the Emerald City from The Wizard of Oz, so I have played on that idea. In fact, we did change this one quite a bit, so I will grab a screenshot from the beginning of the video and pop that one up here so we can see what the picture looked like when we first started. You can see we have all those rocks at the front of the picture there that I have covered up because I wasn't really up for colouring all those different rocks in lots of detail. We have the city in the background. We have the sky. That's about all there was going on with this picture, but this is what we have ended up with here. As I said, I popped in the rainbow, as my theme for the month is rainbow, and I was working on the prompt from the Create This Book to add some song lyrics into the video, and there is some song lyrics written over the top of the rainbow there, not in huge writing, it's just there pretty subtly. That's the way I've added my lyrics into this video, as a little bit of interest there, and around the edge of the rainbow with the little crystals. I could have gone a little bit bigger with my writing, but I was being a little bit tentative there. I could have also collaged the writing in, cutting it out from magazines and doing the kind of ransom note sort of collage for the lettering. I could have printed it out and traced it if I wanted to make it look really nice and neat and scripted. But I've just popped it in my own writing to get across the idea that I was going for here. We got rid of all the rocks in the beginning here in the front of the picture, covered those up and turned it into a grassy meadow with some little flowers there. I added in the butterflies, this yellow brick road. Of course, we have the yellow brick road leading up to the Emerald City. And yeah, all in all, I'm really, really happy with that. Fits in with my theme, it fits in with the prompt. I will try and lift it up a little bit so we can see that writing. There we go. It says, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. The lyrics of the song are from The Wizard of Oz and fitting in really nicely with my rainbow theme, I thought. Super fun one to do. Once I'd figured out how to use those acrylic markers, starting with the darker colour, coming in with the lighter for the highlights, yeah, I really started to enjoy that one, and as I've said a few times, I'm really, really happy how it's turned out. This one was a buddy colour with the lovely crafty Claire, whose channel I will be linking down in the description below, but I will leave showing her lovely version until my finished pages, where we can compare and contrast how they both look together. But for today, that will be it. So we are out of time for today. So that is today's colouring session over with. And hopefully you've enjoyed following along with me and colouring this picture here from Doctor Who colouring book. If you have enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you in future videos. Bye.